Gentlemen, the balls where the game begins. Betting on sports with our expert spins. From football fields to courtside drills. Punt Pals podcast, we pay the bills. Bet on Pals, no bid and play. Join us now every sports day. Tips and picks, they never fail. Punt Pals podcast, set yourself.
Ah, yes, here we are again, Punt Pals podcast, episode number 10 now. Little bit of stuff that we got to get through. Follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts for all the updates. Throw us a 5-star review if you can as well. And check us out on Insta, TikTok. Shoot us an email at puntpalspodcast@gmail.com as well. My name is Robbie Vaughn. This is Nick Restovic. Hello, mates.
Great, man. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. Good to see that you are alive and well after your big weekend last week.
Yeah, just scraped through, mate. It was a bit of a bloodbath there in the end, but we all got out pretty safely, which was good.
Oh, congratulations. And you've made it here this week, which is very good. Well done.
In the studio. Good to be back, mate. Chomping at the bit to get into today's pod. We've got plenty on, don't we?
Mate, we have heaps. And, I mean, given that we're getting very, very close to footy finals and still nothing is certain, there is a lot of excitement around at the moment. How are you seeing the footy?
Oh, mate, I'm not seeing it very well. That's
is
for
that
sure.
because you're still recovering from your weekend down in Busso?
Still blind. No, mate, it's just been super tough, hasn't it? It's crazy to think we're going into the last round and we may not know who's playing finals until the last game of the last round of the season. Unheard of.
It's absolutely crazy. And you're right, it is coming down to that last game. I mean, if you were playing for Freo this weekend, do you reckon you're keeping track during the second half of your game about what's going on in the Carlton game?
Absolutely. JL's come out in the last couple of days and said, guys, keep your eyes on the prize. Stay off the TV there watching the other games and focus on our game. It's hard not to, isn't it, mate?
Oh, it would be. And I did hear that. And he said, less footy, boys. I don't want you watching any more footy on the TV or any of that. But you'd have to be all over it.
Oh, definitely, mate. You'd be watching those other results very keenly, I think.
Yeah, you would. All right, we're going to get into the footy in a few minutes' time, mate. But let's have a look at our punting from the week just gone. Do you want to start off with a few of our listener contributions, see how they went?
Yeah, Liam McLaughlin was up on debut last week talking through racing, and he's a big racing man.
Yes.
He had a 3-leg multi there, win multi at Belmont last week, race 1, race 4, race 7. He missed the first one in Timeless Gem, got the second one up in Silver Eye, and then the racing was abandoned at Belmont. It was a bit of a goat track out there, mate.
Yeah, it was tough, and it was raining cats and dogs on Saturday.
Yeah.
If you remember, it was a long time. I don't know, you're in Busso, so you probably didn't realise, but my God, it was pissing down. So I can understand why they cancelled that racing in the end. Good thing about Liam as well is that he actually got in touch with us through the Spotify app. So we've obviously had a lot to do with Liam through Own the Dream and a lot of racing functions and everything, but I noticed that he's been listening on Spotify and then commenting there as well. So that's really cool for the interaction. So I appreciate that, Liam. Thank you, mate.
Yeah, mate. It's all about trying to get people involved, I guess. Help us define what content you want to see and throw a few tips in there too for the rest of the punters. And we love the racing tips, don't we?
100% we love the racing tips. We do have a few more for the end of the podcast as well. Liam's got involved again. Also Jacob and a few other boys. But we'll do that at the end of the podcast. We'll jump into Tone's hot EPL tip as well.
How do we go, Tones?
Nah, no good. So he gave us two. He had Liverpool and Ipswich both to score, into West Ham and Villa. Aston Villa both to score. No deal there. And he also had Inter Milan, into AC Milan and Barcelona all head-to-head. Do you know what? I didn't even end up having a look what got up and what didn't because he messaged me after the first leg of the first bet and said no good. So we just threw that one away.
It's better to know straight up, isn't it, mate? You know, rather than hanging on to the last leg as we talked about earlier in the season of this potty, mate.
Oh, yeah. Or if you're just a fan of Will Day who sort of had that effect on us over the weekend. We love his work, but gee, didn't he hurt us on the weekend?
Great segue into it, mate. We took on the 75 disposals combined with Tap Touch last week. We were very confident. Zorko O'Neill kicked us off beautifully.
Yeah.
And then Will Day, who's been in epic form, he just unfortunately got injured there and registered the 2 disposals and it was all over.
You can't help injuries though, can you? Like, that would have been money in the bank if he plays the full game.
100%, mate. We're on to a winner there, but that's punting, isn't it?
It certainly is. So let's do a review of your bets, actually. So you had 488 in the kitty. You've got to do it, mate. It's all part of being accountable.
Oh, I tell you what, as I said, been a really tough few weeks in the footy. Not many punters on the right side of the ledger there. I took a 4-leg AFL multi last week and was pretty confident, to be fair. I was spruiking. Gold Coast, obviously, you'd think they'd be beating Melbourne at home. They love winning at home. Not to be.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I mean, how often have we seen Gold Coast lose at home.
Well,
Once.
I mean, as soon as they start to win away, they just throw away their home form. So that's what we saw. They won away the week before, which was the first time for the season. And then another first the following week with losing at home to Melbourne, who,
God.
let's be honest, haven't been in great form. So that was a really tough start. We had Brisbane to finally end Collingwood's slim chances of making the finals.
Yeah.
And they got rolled as well after winning 11 in a row, Brisbane.
Don't know how on earth that happened. Last time I looked at the score about half-time, Brisbane were well up, so...
Yeah, they love to come hard home.
Collingwood
late
love
in
a
the games,
comeback.
don't they? You can never rule them out. So they came home, just got over the line there by a couple of points, and then you'd think Geelong would take care of the Night Flags.
What the hell?
And, mate,
The
got
old Night
rolled
Flags
on
in
that
Kilda.
one. So I had one leg to win out of 4, really, which was Western Bulldogs beating North. And, yeah, absolute disaster, mate, really. Let's be real.
Oh, it was shocking. Did Sam Darcy actually beat North himself?
I think he might. And his old man as well.
Yeah.
His old man's record of 6 goals. So, yeah, big night for him, wasn't it?
Not bad at all. So you only had 2 bets this week, and it just didn't quite come through for you, mate.
No, it didn't.
You were looking for about a for 4.15 return, I think it was,
Yeah.
just doing the
Yep.
maths quickly.
Yep.
So no deal there. What does that leave your kitty at? Do you know?
388 now, mate. Yeah, started at 488, down to 388. So we're still $280 in the green, but we desperately need to claw our way out of this, don't we?
We certainly do. I'm sitting at 170. Well, at the start of the round, I was sitting at minus 170. Now, I had West Coast to beat Carlton with the plus 12 points at any time. You get your money back. That was for West Coast, and a 5% odds boost. I had $30 on it. Obviously, West Coast did not beat Carlton. But they were 12 points up in the first quarter, so I got my money back.
I can't believe that. Like, it didn't feel like they were leading at any stage in the game.
Nah.
So, what a great little promo. Cash back.
Great. Thank you, Tab Touch. Very well done. I also got on the Zorko O'Neill day 75 plus. I had $20 on that at 250, so that was a downer. I got on the bet with Shorty, which is Geelong to win and Hawthorn to win by 40 plus. Hawthorn did their job, but Geelong, I still can't believe that they went down to St Kilda, so that was no good. And then, mate, the final one was Brisbane Suns, Geelong Bulldogs, Hawthorn West Coast as my multi all to win. That was paying $14.96. I had $10 on it, and that was no deal. No, I had $30 on that. Sorry. Jeez. That's even worse.
You were
So I
loading
lost
up.
all that. It was going to be a nice win.
Well, you know when Shorty's not going well, that the rest of us are in trouble, really.
Pretty much. And, mate, it was an impossible round to pick. Like,
It was.
no one's coming out with 8 or 9 on that. Unless you forgot to tip. Maybe that's your only chance.
Yeah, it's kind of it's that weird end of season vibe where some teams still have a lot to play for. Other teams are just are dead rubbers.
Yep.
And for somehow the teams have nothing to play for, seem to beat the teams which are fighting for finals contention. So you wouldn't pick that in a normal season, but it's been so tight this year, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been tight as. But let's have a look at the round of footy, actually. We'll start off with Swans Essendon. And, man, I guess I'll review this because being an Essendon supporter, a long-suffering Essendon supporter, my new mantra in life is feel, then heal.
Okay.
Feel, then heal. You know, feel the pain and let it heal.
It's going to take a little while to sink in this one, is it, mate? Or we...
Well, it ended our slim hopes of finals. You know, the Gold Coast did a good job of that anyway. Mate, I don't have a lot to say about it from the second half of Essendon. It was a bit of a heartless effort. I'm actually really disappointed, and I don't really know what I can say that'll make me feel any better right now.
Well, I guess, to make you feel a little bit better, Sydney have bounced back into form, I think, as they work into the finals. I thought Essendon had enough supply forward. They kicked just 4 goals in the first half from 36 inside 50s.
Yeah. Which
suggests to me that their forward chemistry ahead of the ball was just really not working. And we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. You've got guys like Peter Wright who've been consistent. You've had guys like Langford who have been bankers and they've just fallen off the planet the last few weeks. So plenty of good signs in terms of them being able to move the ball. Essendon, they just couldn't score.
Yeah, and it's been their problem not just the week before against Gold Coast when they kicked 1-9 to 2-0 and lost by a point, but the last 3 years, I can't remember a season where Essendon hasn't been that team that does well across half-back, gets it through the midfield, and then just lobs it into the forward line and hopes for the best. They're never looking for forwards. If they are, the forwards can't find it.
Yeah.
It's just there's a real issue in link-up between the centre square and the forward line for Essendon. I don't know how they fix it because they seem to have tried everything.
Well, I think it's just that having that key forward that demands the footy. You need like a big, tall presence, strong body who can take contested marks that demands a footy. and leads hard. And I don't feel like they've really got that so far. They've got Langford, who's probably an undersized key forward. He's quite quick off the mark, but he doesn't demand the footy like those big key forwards do. And to have Nate Caddy have all that pressure on his shoulders, under 20 is pretty tough. So they've got a bright future, but they need a big key forward to clunk them.
Even Caddy, he can clunk him. But I don't think he's that extra big size. I think he's probably still only a
mid-range.
little bit taller than Stringer, to be honest.
Yeah.
And he can't kick.
Yeah, it was
He'll
crazy.
get better, but he's not a great kick for goal.
He's still got a bit more work to do. I thought probably the one other takeout was a guy you spoke about a few weeks ago, and Luke Parker.
Oh, yes. He's very good.
Man, I mean, he was just unbelievable. He kicked 3 goals in the game, had 20-plus posies, and in a midfield that's been struggling in recent times. He's been really something that's helped them resurge towards the end of the season.
He's come back like he's really got a point to prove, hasn't he? I mean, he couldn't get in that team for probably the first 10 rounds, and then he finally gets his chance to whip back in, and he's gone, boys, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah, you talked him up, and he's delivered, mate. So hopefully he stays in the team. Horse, please, give him a run, for God's sake.
Oh, he's not going out of that team now. There is no chance in hell. All right, so Sydney are looking good. They should secure that top spot. Well, I think it's all done deal now, isn't
pretty
it?
much, mate. They've locked it in. Yep.
So they've got that. But we'll move on to the Gold Coast and Melbourne. Another one that we were way off in our tipping.
We were miles off, mate. I thought fairly comfortable win for Gold Coast there last week. Will the real Gold Coast please stand up, mate? Really?
I know.
Oh, what a frustrating team.
Yeah. Even like I thought Mac Andrews,
yeah.
he's going to kick a couple of goals, surely. Had him on for 2+ in a multi I had that wasn't part of this podcast. Yes, I do a few sneakies as well.
Yeah, you got a couple of side bets, don't you?
Yeah, a few side bets. And even because Pickett, he kicked 4 the week before, didn't kick a goal, I don't think. So, I don't know with Gold Coast who they are as a club still.
I don't think Dimmer would know either. He's probably thinking, what the actual? So, and the D's as well, like they're just an enigma too. Like they were terrible. The last 4 or 5 games have actually been really competitive. And to beat Gold Coast by 54 points was just ridiculous. And there was so much pressure on the D's. There were talk of players exiting the Demons in Petrarca and Viney. And Viney obviously signed on this week. He had a ridiculously good game. 30 disposals, 2 goals, contested beast, absolutely dominated Matt Rao in the middle, which I thought would be the key matchup. He signed on to the D's till 2028, mate. So he'll be 35 when he goes around his last year there.
Huge. They don't mind a long contract at Melbourne, do
No, they don't. Ask Petrarca. He'll be locked away till 2050 at this rate. So probably want to get out of that one right now. But
he's highly underrated, Viney, as well. Like he has been a beast for that club for how long now? 10, 12 years. And he just keeps racking them up, getting better with age. So
yeah, Mr. Consistent, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's
really
a bloody good player. Yeah, no, he was big for them on the weekend, and they just beat him up inside. And I guess that probably Melbourne supporters would be thinking, what if? I guess we've gone on a run late in the year. As long as we could have kept this consistent form throughout the year, we're probably playing final. So I expect them to be a much better team next year.
It'll be interesting to see where they go from here. I guess it depends on the off season. There's a lot of talk about Clayton and Petrarca and what they're doing. So if they're at the club, it probably makes things a lot different to if they're not, because they've all of a sudden got to replace the whole midfield.
Exactly. Oliver has a full pre-season. Neil Bullen is going, obviously. He'll requesting a trade to South Australia. So it'll be a different lineup. And I think there's some good guys coming through there in high draft picks that'll be performing over the future years. So I expect them to be much better next year.
Now, mate, this was a very good game to watch on TV, GWS and Freo. I mean, being the good Freo fan that you are, give us the rundown. What were your thoughts on the game?
Mate, it was a finals-like game. It ebbed and flowed. Last week I spoke about probably GWS having a bit more depth in the key forward position there, and Jesse Hogan was going to absolutely torture us, and that's pretty much what happened, really. If you look at where the game was won and lost for Fremantle, down the stretch when the pressure was on, and Fremantle have been subject to this all year, falling behind in those big moments, they just made some really uncharacteristic sort of errors. Jesse Hogan got on top, showed Cox that you need to have a full pre-season coming in here, mate. And he's been injured for most of the year. No Alex Pearce doesn't help either, which we'll talk about later. But I thought some positives for Freo. Brayshaw was enormous. Tried to do the Patrick Cripps where he had 41 disposals and carried the team on his shoulders. But the game was really lost in defence for Fremantle. And I tell you what, looking at the likes of Hogan and Brent Daniels just tear us up. Look out whoever plays GWS in the finals. They've got so much firepower forward.
They really do. Looking at Daniels as well, he is pretty much Toby Green Mark II, isn't he? Even when he runs around the ground. I remember seeing him play West Coast at Optus Stadium. I think it was the start of this year, and I had to keep checking myself to work out which one's Green and which one's Daniels. They're very similar and both very good, obviously.
Yeah, they are, mate. And yeah, he's just a dynamic player that can go up onto the wing or half forward. A lot of run, a lot of polish on both sides of his body. So yeah, I'm also a massive fan. I think what we're seeing with Fremantle this year is they're a young side. The season's taken its toll. And I think you've seen that with Freo losing the last 3 matches by an average of 7 points. So they're always in it. But when it comes down to those crucial moments that require experience and a calm head down the stretch, they're just not able to close it out. So, only comes with more experience, I guess, for the team.
That is true. You did mention Brayshaw before. I was very impressed to see that he bounced back because he had a very quiet game the week before. I think he only had 17 touches. So to bounce back and have, what'd you say, 35?
41, mate.
Oh, 41.
Yeah, he was ridiculous. He must have been injured early in the season. Like, there's been a lot of talk around that. He started really poorly. Sarong was carrying that midfield. Suddenly last 5 or 6 games, other than that one last week, he's been over 30 possessions a game. So, yeah, he's done everything he can, I guess, to get him over the line. He just needs to get more to go with him.
They'll get there. Freo, I think, are looking good. The other excellent game of the round was the Pies and the Lions at the MCG. I mean, Brisbane really could have secured their season there, but they dropped it. Like we've seen with so many games this year, they just couldn't get it done when it mattered.
It was strange. I guess this goes back to what we were saying at the start of the game. There's teams that have secured a final spot, largely secured a final spot. Let's say the Lions still could be a mathematical chance to miss unbelievably this weekend, and miss the final. So the Pies, desperate. They always come from behind. I think it gets in teams' heads a little bit. Geez, they're never out of the game. And it just looked like they were more desperate, really. They won the contested footy, the Pies. I feel like they were very, very good over the footy throughout the middle there. And they trailed all game until the last quarter, really. So they kicked the last 3 goals of the game to go over the line.
Yeah, and I mean, they haven't been that team this year for the majority of it, for the most part. But, I mean, they still love that come-from-behind win. And it is exciting to watch. Like, you can never go to a Collingwood game or watch it on TV and think that you're not going to have a great time of it. Yeah,
exactly. And I guess one guy which has been a lot of pressure in a trade since this year has been Lachie Schultz.
Yeah.
So, mate, I thought, whilst we don't like to see those good players leave the Dockers, he kicked 2, and including the Steeler, which was a 1-2 job and a check side. So he silenced his doubters and, gave the crowd a bit of cheek there as well for all the flack he's been copping throughout the year. So that was good to see him bob up.
Why not as well? Give it to him when you've got the chance because, I mean, you're going to cop it every other week, so you might as well fire up. The showdown, Port and Crows, the big headliner out of this was Dwayne Houston.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Houston, we've got a problem, haven't
was
we,
it?
really?
We do have a problem.
Massive problem.
Absolutely spot on. Was that, did he end up with 5 weeks? Sorry, I can't remember if they got it down to 4. Yeah.
Season over. Regardless, I mean, 4 or 5 all over.
Yeah.
Uncharacteristic for a guy like Dan Houston. He's had a very clean record in terms of tribunals and fines throughout his playing tenure. But yeah, mate, I tell you what, I did think Adelaide would give a good shout, and they looked like they were in it for quite a while. But obviously the polish of the likes of Butters and Rosie, who had a prolific game. Zach Butters had 42 again in a Brayshaw-like performance, and he was the game winner. And your man, Jason Horne-Francis, mate. He's building.
He's good, isn't he?
He is good. I see him live on Sunday at the Fremantle game, so hopefully he doesn't play too well. But no, he was great, wasn't he?
Oh, mate, I could become a Port fan between him, Butters and Rosie. What a midfield to watch.
Yeah,
they're great when they're on song.
Who do you go to, I guess? Like, one of them will get off the chain. So, yeah, Docker's going to have their hands full this week.
And it's hard to believe that Jason Horne-Francis is still only 3rd, maybe 4th year?
Yeah.
Is that all it is?
Yeah, I think it's 4th year. He had a year or 2 at the Roos, and then he's had 2, I think, at Port now.
Yeah, so he's still a young buck.
Yeah, he can do it all, really. He just needs to get a bit more experience, I guess. But he's inside, he's outside, he kicks goals, which is most important from a midfielder at Port. So, yeah, he was enormous. And I guess the other big story out of the game this week was Rochelle, who probably got a little bit ahead of himself, kicking a goal there in the game. When they were behind Adelaide, and he's been dropped this week by the coach.
Ouch.
Yeah, so not great for the young man's confidence, but Adelaide probably got a little bit ahead of themselves early, mate.
I'm not sure that confidence is Rochelle's problem, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. He's oozing it, isn't he?
That might, it might rein him in a bit.
Bring him down a peg, maybe, or 2.
I think it's probably not a bad call in that regard, because sometimes I think you just got to pull everything in line and send a message to the entire club. The other one as well, the Saints, we call them the no flags, or the one flag, or the night flags. Sorry, that's slanderous to say no flags. We call them the night flags. They've made a meal of Geelong.
They did,
and
mate.
eaten it up whole.
They did. This is a game of completely 2 different halves. It was it's almost like the Saints, they play a conservative brand of footy until they're 30 points down.
Yeah.
And then Ross just goes, release the shackles, boys. Let's actually play with some run and flair. And that's what they did. It was just ridiculous. Like, I think they piled on 6 or 7 unanswered goals against Geelong in that third quarter, which just really, against Geelong, to kick 6 unanswered goals in the quarter really shows that you're able to dismantle their defence, which not many teams have been able to do. So a lot of teams playing like this, they love playing from behind. Collingwood are the same. They seem to play 2 completely different brands of footy. So I guess the key for the Saints is just to find a consistency in the way they attack and the way they go forward for the whole game, not just half a game of footy.
And what does this mean for Geelong? Is it just a blip on the radar? Like, they've had a bad game, these things happen, or does that say something about their run into the finals? Is there something off there?
It's hard to say. Again, I guess it's kind of like you win a premiership the year before and you fall away. I guess Geelong, they're in the finals. The Saints aren't. Did they go into the game with a bit of complacency and those senior players going, I'm not really going to risk getting injured heading into the finals? So I think that's at play, and that's a really hard one for the Punt, I guess, because you think, well, the best team with the most quality on board is going to win the game. Well, it looked like, again, the Saints were more hungry, as were Collingwood, and that's how you get beaten.
And it's an interesting time of the year for the Saints to start doing that. They're sort of in a position where they can do some damage, even though it doesn't help them. They can really stuff some other people up.
They can do some damage to our bloody multis too. I think they've cooked about 3 AFL head-to-head multis, the Saints, this year, so I'm dirty on them.
And do you know what? That's the most important thing. You're messing with our money, St Kilda.
Yeah, come on, St Kilda.
We'll move on to Sunday. Dogs, Roos, it was just a bloodbath. And Sam Darcy, 7 goals.
Yeah, top the old man score there, which was interesting, wasn't it? Yeah, the old man. He barely gives a smile, old Luke Darcy, when his son's playing. I feel like he probably overcompensates for the whole family thing. But, mate, he was unreal, wasn't he?
He was. Do you think that Darcy being so stoic about it, like, do you think it is over the top? Because I sort of feel as though I wouldn't care if he gave a cheer in the commentary box. I'd actually like to see it, especially being his son's first or second year.
Mate, you're spot on.
Yeah.
I'd like show us some emotion, mate. Be a proud father. I guess everyone wants to see that now.
Yeah,
he probably, to your point, that's the reason he's doing it. He doesn't want the Eddie Maguire Collingwood factor of being biased or whatever. But when your son kicks 7, big fella,
get around it.
Get up out of your seat and fire up for the boys.
Maybe he was angry that his Darcy record of 6 goals in a game was gone. Maybe Sam's grounded. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, Sam.
Not a lot to say about that game, really. The Dogs go into this week, which we'll talk about soon, with a lot on the line as well.
Yep.
Hawks Richmond, it was actually, I was going to say it's a dead rubber. I'm still in the mode of saying Hawthorn in that bottom 4, but they're not at all. They're one of the best sides in the comp at the moment.
Mate. I think if they make it, then it'll be tough. But it was an interesting game. Probably the big takeout being Jack Gunston. He was at sea last year. Brisbane obviously come back to the Hawks. You think he's probably going to play a leadership role or a mentor role and play on and off throughout the year. He kicked his season high 5 goals on the weekend. They did win by 63 against Richmond, but he's been in good form the last few weeks.
100%.
You can't rule him out. And he's a big September man too. So if they get to the finals, I think he's been there and done it. He's going to be a very important player for them moving forward.
100%. Him firing in September is only a good thing for the Hawks, and it gives them a little bit more choice as well, doesn't it? Because obviously,
absolutely,
you got Bruce and you got a few younger players there as well. Big Chol. Kick a goal, Chol.
Yep.
There is a lot of good stuff around Hawthorn and a lot to like. Have you seen the TikTok videos from their socials as well?
I have been keeping up with the TikTok videos.
There is some absolute quality. It really is good.
They're a real showbiz kind of team, aren't they?
They are.
I think Sam Mitchell's really embracing that culture of, celebrate yourselves, have some fun with it. The goal celebrations are ridiculous as well, aren't they?
They're amazing. They are
I
amazing.
love watching them, mate. They're a great spectacle, aren't they?
A lot of NFL about it. Mate, finally, let's talk about West Coast and Carlton. A lot of people leading into the weekend were getting behind West Coast and saying, well, you know what? Carlton's pretty slim on numbers. West Coast, the Eagles could get this done. And they went into the game favourites. I think $1.85 favourites. The way they played did not reflect that, though.
Oh, everyone got sucked in, didn't they? Oh, I got sucked in. Hand up. Yep. I looked at the $1.85 for West Coast and thought, geez, Carlton are pretty much fielding their 2 side pretty much, so we should get the job done at home here, West Coast. And well done if you took the $2 for the Blues. I got sucked in. Geez, West Coast was just atrocious. You look at Jared Schofield's come out in the media the last couple of days, the poor fella. He's coaching probably jobs on the line, and they turn up with that sort of performance. And it's almost like they thought, we don't want to beat the Blues here and let Fremantle make the finals. We've got nothing to play for here.
And if that's the case, you got to have respect for that.
Yeah, you do.
Just really take out your crosstown rivals.
Subtly. And I guess probably the sad part was we're saying goodbye to a couple of West Coast players, aren't we? And Andrew Gaff, and they weren't able to sort of see them off in style. So I don't know where the West Coast Eagles key forwards are. We talked about them last week. They just didn't exist on the game. So no
they
influence.
did for the first quarter, and then they just went, see you later.
Yeah, well, you're a 12-pointer, mate. Lucky they got you out for that. So Scully's last 2 wins have been positive, but does that put big question marks now around him getting the top job now? I guess we're not going to see enough of him, are we?
Yeah, I don't think it should, because we've seen a lot of good things out of Scully, and I don't know. It's hard to base it on 8 weeks or whatever it's going to be by the time the end of the season hits.
It's a very short window.
It is. Oh, if I was West Coast, I'd be considering it strongly.
Yep.
I reckon he's all right.
Yeah, well, there's certainly been some positive signs and the players are behind him, so that's half the start, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I guess my biggest apprehension about it was that, he's been an assistant to Simo for so long that even if he does have a different philosophy, he's going to be bringing these older things in or keeping the older things there. Yep. But I don't know. It seems like he's got a fresh outlook and everything. It's not an easy job. Like, no one's really expecting him to come out and win 8 out of 8. That's
no.
I guess all you want is effort.
And no one's beating down the door for the job either.
Well, that's the thing as well.
It's obviously a tough cover to your point, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So we'll see what happens. From all reports, they're going to get it done by the end of September. Like, they're going to get it done pretty quick going into pre-season. So it will be very interesting to see. I kind of hope he gets it.
I do too. Yeah, I think he's really kind of added a bit more accountability around some of those senior players. We've seen them go through the twos now.
Yeah.
So he's put them on notice, and I think they're playing for him and then playing a bit more of an exciting brand of footy. It's hard to say that after what happened on the weekend, but you've got to give him credit for the couple of wins there, don't you? First time in a few years they've won back-to-back, so
100%.
That's a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, we'll see what happens. Time will tell on that one. We'll come back for another podcast next week, and we won't have answers for that, to be honest with you.
Probably not, mate. No, probably not. I'll probably win this week and throw us off again.
Well, mate, that was the round of footy. Done and dusted. Good overview there, I think. We've covered everything.
I mean, we didn't win, but apart from that, we gave a good wrap up.
We covered everything, but there was not one win in sight. That was rough. That was very rough. But anyway, it's probably made you angry, and that's why we're doing Risto's roast right now. Fire us up, mate.
I tell you, it was a good segue after that West Coast game because it was a stinker. But, I think it's been easy to go after the low-lying fruit in the roast this year. I mean, we've seen it go after a lot of different teams, a lot of different coaches. Sometimes it's good to look at your own team, isn't it?
Yes.
And today,
I would agree with that.
This is a special Purple Haze edition of the roast.
Hello. You sure you don't want to wait until after next week?
No, mate, no. There's something I've seen in the last few weeks which has really got me fired up. All right, so a month ago, the flag mantle was up. We're talking about Fremantle making the top 4, double chance at home. We always get ahead of ourselves as Freo supporters. We haven't had much to celebrate, have we? So now we're sitting here this week looking at missing the finals altogether and relying on 3 teams who sit at the bottom of the ladder to knock off there's opponents in a huge upset for us to make the finals.
Yeah.
So when you think about that turnaround, it's just been absolutely monumental. But I think when you talk about footy, you talk about sliding doors moments.
Yep.
So Adelaide last year, absolutely dogged with that call where the ball's called to hit the post. They missed the finals. For us this year, I've put it down to maybe 1 or 2 key things.
Oh, hello.
There's one thing I'm not exactly very happy about, mate. So
fire away.
Our captain. The Jesus.
Oh, got him in the gun.
Alex Pearce.
In the barrel.
Love the man. But honestly, you bring him back for a derby 2 weeks after breaking his arm.
Yeah.
To play West Coast, and he re-injures his arm. We lose our All-Australian fullback. And then what's happened in the last few weeks, mate? Hogan absolutely destroys us. We see Jake Stringer bob up and kick 4 goals against. When's the last time Jake Stringer had more than 3 goals? So, I mean, really, you've got to have a good hard look at the fitness and coaches there at Fremantle and think you've just got to play the long game sometimes. The cost of bringing back Pearce early has thrown our entire backline out of sync. And I think when you look at these games we've lost by 7 points, you can't tell me that holding their full forward to less than 3 or 4 goals wouldn't have helped us get the bloody result.
Oh, you're not wrong.
So I'll tell you what, I'll be watching the game on Sunday very, very carefully. And if Mitch Georgiades, the WA boy, comes back and kicks 5 or 6 on Brennan Cox, or let's say Charlie Dixon, who's at the end of his career, bobs up and kicks 3 or 4, I'll be coming even harder for Fremantle and their fitness team because it's just not on and it might cost us a chance at a flag. So have a hard look at yourselves, all right?
I love that. That's a good Risto's roast.
Well, when you run the gauntlet and you lose, you've got to be called out for it.
Boom. I love it. I am very interested to know how you're going to react next week, no matter what happens.
Probably very poorly.
Yeah.
Imagine if we don't get there, I'll tell you what, I'll be even more fired up, mate. So.
Will he be singing the praises of Freo next week if they just slip into that finals position?
Oh, mate, we'll see what happens, I guess. But we're quickly moving into the light and shade and the heroes of the week, don't we? We need to bring us up a notch, mate.
Yes, we've gone from there to there very quickly. Firstly, I wanted to go with heroes of the week and retiring AFL players for this year. There's been probably good 15 who have already sort of announced that they're going to be calling it quits at the end of the year. Richmond, the hardest hit from this. Dustin Martin, Dylan Grimes, Marlon Pickett and Sam Naismith.
Wow.
All calling it a day. Tommy Hawkins and Zach Toohey from Geelong. Dyson Hebbel from the Bombers. Gaffey is, of course, saying goodbye there at West Coast. No one else has announced it yet, but does Cripps go on?
Jamie Cripps hasn't been addressed, actually. It's flying under the radar. I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised if he gets another year, to be honest, but... Yeah,
he's going to be long in the tooth.
You want to make the call soon so you get a farewell game, wouldn't you?
Well, exactly right. You want a farewell game. I mean, that's the whole point of doing these things. Also, Aiden O'Driscoll, Western Bulldogs. We haven't really seen much of him over the years, but he's been a good servant. Lettuce Brown, Benny Brown.
Lettuce Brown.
From the Demons.
Yeah, the big long run-up. Games will be a little quicker these days with him out of the league, but well done you, Brownie.
We do like to call him good old Lettuce in the group chat. Brandon Ellis, another Richmond Premiership player, of course, Gold Coast Suns now. He's calling it a day. Liam Shield from North, Sam Reid from Sydney, and of course Andy Brayshaw and Rory Sloane announced their retirements earlier in the year. Sorry, Angus, not Andy. Look at his face. Look at his face.
Oh, gosh. I was like, geez, he's early.
He said, that's breaking news.
Yeah.
Andy Brayshaw, we can confirm.
That's not breaking news on the potty. He's going around again next year, hopefully.
Oh, that would be amazing. That would get us clicks. That would get us clicks.
Yeah,
do you want to just release that as a headline anyway? Just see what happens. I reckon Perth now pick it up.
Bit of clickbait there, mate, for sure. Brayshaw has really rocked their season, hasn't he? He's been a huge loss for them, hasn't he?
Massive. And it's a real pity because he was such a great player and so amazing across their half-back line. It's been a huge loss.
He was. And your man Heppel gets a farewell game, which is good to see this week. Not at home, but in Brisbane.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad he's getting it. I think he deserves it, and there's no point not giving it to him.
Yeah, it's nothing to play for, so you may as well see him out. But
exactly
what a warhorse he's been, Matt.
Exactly right. So, he's been amazing. Dyson Heppel, a real hero of the club. That's why he's a hero of the week. And, mate, the other hero of the week that I wanted to move on to this week is Black Caviar,
wow.
Of course.
Yeah, huge
we
news.
sadly lost her during the week in her foal as well. Undefeated in 25 races, as you know, trained by Peter Moody, ridden by Luke Nolan. 18 years old, which is young for a horse. Should have had another 10 in her. Won at Royal Ascot. Feature not achieved by many, mates. So I tell you what.
It was a sad day for
bad.
racing, wasn't it? Oh, unbelievable performance, and largely got a lot of non-racing enthusiasts into the sport.
Yeah.
A Winx like presence, so obviously on the track, and so many people remember the Black Caviar silks and colours, and many racing people I talk to, you follow racing. Oh, I did Black Caviar and Winx sort of days. So that's the impact she had on the industry, and it was a really sad day. Good innings at 18 years of age, but you never see to like our champions go like that. So thoughts of everyone and Moody, and he was quite emotional during the week. But what a horse, and if anything, we should be celebrating her performance this week, I guess.
100%. It's very sad and a definite hero of the week. All right, mate, we're going to move on to this week's games because we've got the final round of the AFL season. Let's quickly do a bit of a summary here and see how we see every single game. And, of course, see if we can do a little bit better than last week because our tipping last round was absolutely shocking.
It didn't go well, did it?
No.
And I guess there's so much at stake again this week. You thought it would start to take a bit more shape after last week, and we kind of know who we're dealing with in the top 8, but there's still 3 teams that could sneak in there.
The only guarantee is first, hey?
Pretty much,
clear, And everything else could change.
You look at all the permutations, and there's stories in the AFL website, the machinations. They're about 50 slides deep, trying to see everything that can possibly happen. So I won't try and attempt the mathematical equations for most of these teams. We'll try and keep it simple today, I guess, Robbie.
I think that's a pretty good idea because I really feel as though the way this season has been, that whatever we think the most likely occurrence is, that ain't going to be the one that happens. There's going to be some surprise, you know?
I think so, mate. I think so. And look, we couldn't do any worse than we did last week, so it's all right from here, really, isn't it?
No, that's very true. So let's start off with the D's and Collingwood.
Yeah, tonight.
It's a hard one to pick right there, I reckon.
Mate, it is. Super hard to pick. I guess Collingwood's still a mathematical chance, even if it's 0.001%.
Yep.
But both teams have been in good forms the last 2 weeks. I think D's probably winning in Gold Coast is a better form line than perhaps Collingwood by a point.
Yep.
So I'm probably thinking D's under 39.5. It's $2.10 for the D's head-to-head. Collingwood $1.80, so they're slight favourites. I mean, how do you see it playing out, mate?
With Melbourne, they've been getting about 20,000 people to their games. So I feel like this is going to be a Collingwood home game.
True.
Like, as far as the crowd goes. So I think Collingwood win it in front of their home crowd.
I think
at
that's
Melbourne's Demons home game.
The Demons fans still out in the snow, are they? Or still snow out there?
Has it melted yet?
I'm not sure, geez.
But they're shocker with they're an absolute shocker. So
Richmond too.
Richmond as well.
They go in that bucket, mate. So,
but they were getting 100,000 at their games. It's funny what losing does, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, mate. Yep.
Yeah, the D's are shocking.
Yeah,
shocking
no good. Yeah, it's just a line ball game, isn't it, that one?
It is. So for me, I'm taking Collingwood. You're taking Melbourne. Yep. Interesting. Very interesting. I wonder what that'll
heads
say
up
about
again,
our
mate. Heads up again.
Geelong and West Coast.
Yeah, look, West Coast are already in Bali mentally out there. Right?
Yeah.
This could get ugly at GMHBA.
Agree.
Particularly because I think Tom Barrass is probably headed off. Jeremy McGovern's out of the West Coast side, who really stems the bleeding largely for them. So I reckon Jersey Cameron could kick 10 this week.
Yeah, this could be 100+ belting.
Cats $1.02. That's Winks like odds, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And they will win 39.5 points plus.
I'm on that as well.
No, there's no doubt about that. And if they don't, I'm just going to give it away.
I think a lot of us will. I can't see it happening, but do you know what? If that does happen, hats off to West Coast. Schofield
Scully.
Put the money on it.
100%, mate. Get it for Scully.
The Tigers and the Suns.
Yeah, Richmond are going that badly that they're $2.50 against the Suns, who've won one game away for the whole year. So I think that says enough about the game. Not much interest in the game, but both teams in terrible form. I'd say Richmond are slightly more shit, but Gold Coast could probably beat them. So I know I'm staying out, mate, of this game. I can't back Gold Coast after last week. They just served up absolute trollop, didn't they?
They did. I'm actually going to back the Gold Coast this week.
Yep.
I think they're going to finish off their season with a little bit of hope for 2025. But as you say, it's probably one of those ones you stay away from for the most part. Hawks and North, is this going to be very similar to Geelong and West Coast?
Mate, I hope not. I hope that North can somehow conjure an upset for Fremantle's sake. I don't see it happening. Alistair Clarkson, he's a genius, but I don't think he can pull something out of the hat here and conjure an upset in Launceston. Down in the cold terrain of Tasmania, I can only see a small glimmer of hope, but I think probably Hawthorn very comfortably here, mate. The bookies agree. $1.05 for the Hawks and Roos at $9.50.
Yep, I tend to
What do you
agree
think,
with
mate?
there.
I'm going Hawthorn 20 plus. I don't think it'll be as big as some people think, but yeah.
I'll take it at 39 plus.
Yep.
I think it'll probably be a bit of a trouncing there. Lions, Essendon, this game isn't a dead rubber. It is for one team, but the Lions want to win this and they want to win big. I think it's Joe Danaher's 200th as well, isn't it?
I think it is, mate. Yeah, there's a few milestones happening in this game. Also, Dyson Heppel saying goodbye for his Heroes of the Week nomination last week.
Yes, Dyson.
Yeah, I guess a bit flattering for the Dons at $5.75 and the Lions at $1.13. I actually thought, crazily, the Lions would be even shorter than that. But I think Lions to win, Danaher 2+ in his milestone.
It is an Essendon-type game where they could get up and win, though, you know, when it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure. The hopes and dreams of the fans have been broken, so the Dons could get up. But I think Lions are playing for their life, and they really need, after 5 years of being in chase for the premiership and being close, they need to be in a good position to get it done in 2024.
They do. The double chance is massive, isn't it? It's a huge incentive, particularly for those sides outside of Melbourne that won't be playing at their tenant ground like, you know, some of these clubs like Collingwood. So
exactly.
They need to win, and they need to win well. And I think after last week's loss, they'll bounce back.
Yep, I tend to agree. Swans and Crows, this is an interesting one again as well.
Mate, it's super interesting. I think the Crows are just, really hard to get a read on. The Swans, I thought Horse would probably rest a lot more players this week. I thought Grundy was looking tired. Heaney, he's been battered up. So I think it's interesting. They've only really rested one player in Tom McCartan.
Yep.
And $1.33 for Sydney, $3.50 for the Crows. I still think the Crows will be competitive, but probably Sydney 14, 15 points, sort of plus 2.5 goals kind of thing, I think would be pretty comfortable.
It's kind of a hard thing to rest players with the break, though, because it means you're not playing for 2 weekends in a row, which is effectively 3 weeks.
True. Yeah,
I mean,
comes into it.
momentum's a big thing.
It is, mate. It is, and you want to get your mix right before the finals. But I just feel like they've been a little bit tired.
Yeah.
Sydney, they started absolutely crazily on fire, and then the last few weeks they've sort of fallen away a bit. But one thing I'm really interested in is the big Texan doesn't have a contract next year. Big Tex Walker.
What's he going to do?
Well, I don't know. There's been talk of him like going to a side like Collingwood and just playing 1 or 2 more years out. I don't think Adelaide are too keen to re-sign him. They've got Thilthorpe and a few other guys going through there who they want to put some more time into. So it might be the last time we see the big Texan. I hope not, but I'll be watching him keenly.
I think he'd definitely have another year or two in him, so maybe we will see him in.
Well, he was all Australian last year, I think, wasn't he? So he's had a resurgence in his mid-30s.
He certainly has, because we thought he was done and dusted 2 years ago, and he's sort of clawed it back. Mate, we'll move on to Ballarat, the Dogs and the Giants. Interesting location for this game, I think.
Mate, apparently the weather's going to be absolutely torrential there.
Yeah.
40-kilometre winds. Something like 10 plus mil of rain forecasted. It's going to be an absolute scrap. Everyone knows the Dogs love Ballarat.
Yeah.
And interestingly, last year, Giants beat them there.
Yeah, well, the Giants do play in Canberra a lot, and it's bloody cold, probably colder than Ballarat in Canberra. So
hard to go past the Giants at the moment, isn't it? Dogs are at 150, Giants at 260.
yeah,
It's hard to turn down 260 for the Giants. Even if you gave them a little bit of a head start, maybe 2 goals and find $2 for the Giants, I reckon they're going to be in it for a long way.
It's a good point. It's a very good point.
do you
Darcy, he could kick a couple of goals for Western Bulldogs, so that kind of works in their favour. But you're right, Hogan is just on fire. Their midfield's amazing. Like, they sort of have men in every single spot, the Giants.
They
you
do.
know, their backline's great with Taylor and I don't know. You're right. It is hard to see them losing when you look at it that way. I mean, are they better than the Bulldogs on every line? I don't know. It's close.
Yeah, it's tough. They'll stretch them. I think GWS probably they've got 2 great key backs down there as well, which helps.
Yeah.
But it's always that third tall of Western Bulldogs which seems to get off the chain, whether it be Ugle Hagen one week or Darcy the next. So who they send their key matchups to will be important. But like both teams, so much to play for. Dogs fighting to make the finals. They lose this one, Freo could leapfrog them. And GWS trying to hold on to potentially a top 2, top 3 spot for a double chance.
Yeah.
They could fall out of the top 4 if they lose this game.
Isn't it wild?
So, like, you know, which team's got a bigger incentive? You tell me.
Yeah. I think both of them want to win it.
Yeah.
The Bulldogs playing English. We're recording on a Friday, and I know there was talk of Lob ending up going through the ruck.
English is on an extended list, and I based on what Beveridge said this morning in the media, I don't think he's playing.
Okay, well, that makes a difference.
He's been great the last few weeks. Like, I think it's a message again, as you said, coaches need to be firm in terms of standards. He just probably hasn't been the player he was last year. But then you saw Rory Lobb limping after the game last year in the ruck getting flogged.
Yeah.
I feel like he may need to go back this week and support them behind the footy.
Well, he's been great. Since he's gone to the back line, that really looks like it's his position.
Yeah, it does, mate. It does.
So it's a real pity that they can't be playing him there. So, I mean, given that little bit of key people being out of place, maybe it is the GWS.
I think it might be. I hope so for Freo's sake, but I think if there's going to be an upset that lets Freo win on Sunday and make the finals, this is the game.
Yeah.
I can't see the other two winning in terms of that Tasmanian game as well. So I think that'll be as we plan. So this is a big one.
It's a very big one. All right, mate, we've got 2 more games of the round, and these are probably, when you look at the context of finals, these may be the most important games of the round. So Carlton and St Kilda, this has flow-on effects for the last game of the round, which is Freo and Port.
Yep.
What's your take on this?
Ooh, this is tough as well. I mean, I probably thought Carlton would lose last week, but they managed to get over the line. A few interesting things happening this week for Carlton. They named a pretty big extended squad that originally had Charlie Curnow in it.
Yep.
He's since been scrapped. Mackay's not coming back. But this is the one game where I'll be cheering the Night Flags officially.
Yeah.
So this one and the previous game with the Bullies are probably the only 2 live chances for us in Freo to make the 8. Carlton $1.72, Saints at $2.10. Saints have won 4 of the last 5 games.
Yeah, they have. They've been on fire.
I reckon they'll be a lot harder to beat than West Coast in Perth. So I think Carlton will win. I think they've got a lot to play for. I think Cripps will carry him on the shoulders. He'll have 30 plus, and Carlton probably scrape over the line under 40.
The only thing for me with Carlton is, yes, Cripps is going to stand up. You know he's going to do it. He's proven that he can, will himself. I just said will 3 times, but, you know, he'll get it done. But I just wonder about the guy. Who was the guy that kicked 3 or 4 for him last week?
For Carlton?
Yeah. I'm testing you here.
Ooh, you're testing me, mate.
But he's a guy that has never done it before. So it's a lot of pressure on him to go, I'm the key forward now and I'm going to kick another 4.
Yeah,
I
the
don't
guy
know
that
if
went
you
from
can back that up.
the guy that went from the back line to the forward line last week.
Yep, I've
Brody
completely
something.
forgotten his
Yeah.
name, and that is
Brody.
shocking. But, you're relying on guys like that, and they're not proven to be able to do it week in, week out.
Yeah,
So
it is
that's
tough.
your problem with Carlton.
It is tough. A lot of unproven forwards, I guess, isn't it, mate?
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see. Carlton have to get it done. They were the premiership favourites at the start of the year.
Incredible.
Everyone was saying they are going to come through and absolutely take this out.
Yeah.
And it hasn't happened. They're going to struggle to make the finals.
Might have been Brody Kemp, was it?
Kemp, that's it. Yeah,
okay,
well done.
boom. They need to close that one out, mate.
Very well done.
Yeah, look, here we go, testing me.
So I don't know. It's an interesting one. My head says Carlton should win it, but at the same time, you can't trust them at the moment.
And how do you get a form line if they win this game and get into the finals and have 6 of their best players come back in? They're a completely different looking side.
That's a good point.
How do you get a read on how much damage they're going to do in the finals when they haven't had a consistent team for the last 4 or 5 games?
It's a huge point.
Yeah.
They have been pretty depleted. So
I'd be backing them if they get through and they have all those big forwards come back.
Yeah,
They're suddenly a 10-goal a game better side.
Will they come back in time? I don't know.
I think Kernel's a chance, but probably not Mackay.
Gotcha. And that takes us to Freo and Port. Your boys, really, your destiny's in your own hands to a degree. You just have to win it and then just not worry about everyone else, really.
Yeah, I guess that's going to be the key focus is just win the game. But I'm super nervous, mate. I think not only because it's my team, but I think Houston going out of Port, I would have thought that's a huge loss. All Australian back, they run a lot of their playoff half back through him.
Yep.
But then they bring in Mitch Georgiades, who is a WA boy and an absolute gun.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe our backs could get on top. Do they have the firepower forward? Their key forwards can be a bit inconsistent, Port Adelaide. Hence, you see a lot of goals kicked from their midfield. But, geez, Georgiades comes back in. I think he kicked 3 or 4 against us last time. He's going to keep the Freo backs busy. And if anything like last week with the likes of Cox and stuff, I think he could get on top. So still no Tracy, no Darcy, no Alex Pearce.
That hurts.
It's a real tough game to pick, this one, mate. But I think the key is if the Dockers are alive, so all the games have gone the way we wanted them to, and there's one upset, which means we could leapfrog.
Yep.
I think they win.
Okay.
If it's all over, and they go into the game thinking there's nothing to play for here, and Port are obviously playing for a top 2 spot.
Yeah,
mate. I think if results don't go their way, it could be a bloodbath.
Ooh, it's a worry, isn't it? Hey, I remember Georgiades. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. He took a huge mark on the half forward flank. He was up there for Mark of the Year for a while. I think Hayden Young took a big grab in the same game. But I don't know if you remember that, Mark.
I
but
do,
it was
mate. I do.
massive. So he's got a bit in him, Georgiades.
He does. He's come off an ACL last year, missed an entire season.
Oh, so it was the year before.
So they've managed him. They've managed him relatively well to this date. And when he comes back in, he kicks an average of 2 or 3 a game. Freo actually wanted him. They went after him quite hard prior to that ACL injury, being a WA boy, trying to get him home.
He was out of contract.
So, yeah, mate, I'm worried. I reckon he could be the one that knocks us off. You heard it here on Punt Pals. If you get around him, maybe 2+ goals. Georgiades, I reckon.
All right, well, I'm just going to say it, mate. Good luck for the weekend.
Thanks, mate.
For you, I hope you Freo boys get up. It'd be good to see. I know you want to see him play finals footy.
Yeah, we all do. But if they don't get there, they didn't deserve to be there, mate.
That's very
Simple
true.
as that, buddy.
It's very, very true. All right, mate, we're going to move on to our tips of the week and our bets of the week. And we're going to start off with Tone's hot tip in football. So this is my buddy Anthony Conti.
Yep.
Loves his EPL and actually all soccer. He's into La Liga and the Italian League and all that sort of stuff. But he's given us 2 multis for this week, right? Yep. So I'll go through them for you. Aston Villa and Arsenal both to score.
Mm-hmm.
Fulham and Leicester City both to score. Inter Milan to win head-to-head and Barcelona to win head-to-head. I thought he did send me the odds, but they're not there. I think it was around the $5 mark anyway. Yep. And in his second multi, he's even gone Scottish League, Aberdeen into Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, the 2 Spanish teams there, to all win head-to-head.
It's big soccer this time of year, isn't it?
It's huge.
The EPL's taking off. We're seeing a lot of punters following the soccer market. So it's good to have Tones contribute. I don't know much about the soccer, mate. So
no, I'm not. Like, I don't mind watching it in passing, but I'm not like big into stats.
Yep.
And I couldn't tell you like who's who in head-to-heads and everything. So it's good to have Tone on board. It's because it's nice to have a little bit of football tipping in there.
Yeah, hopefully he lands one this week. Would love to get around him, wouldn't we?
It'd be good to see. And I've been following his tips. They haven't come up very well so far. So, Tone, how is your week, mate?
This is it, Tones.
We're going to move on to you and Belmont, mate, with Jacob Sinagra.
Yeah, Jacob, another great racing man. Good to see him following the potty. He's a pretty clued on punter when it comes to horse racing, Jacob. I've had him at quite a few of the ownership functions that I was involved in the previous few years, and he's put together a quaddie for us.
Yes, I like it.
So quaddie, for those playing at home, last 4 races, you're picking a combination of horses to win. So you can have 1 horse to win, or you can have up to 10 horses to win. It just means you get a less percentage of the quaddie at the end of the last race.
Gotcha.
So he's got a quaddie, which is basically 5 horses in each race.
Mm-hmm.
So in leg 1, which is horses 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8. Leg 2 is horses 2, 4, 6, 9, and 10.
Beautiful.
Leg 3, 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. And then leg 4, 3, 4, 5, 11, and 12. So 5 horses in each leg.
Yep.
In the quaddie, you need one of those horses to win. And you can put whatever stake you kind of want on a quaddie.
Yep.
So you can be as risky or as non-risky as you like. $100 if you were to put that on a quaddie, get you 16%.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens at the end, obviously, you look at the pool, everyone puts their money into the quaddie, you're going to take 16% of whatever that pool is. And generally speaking, if a couple of these horses are paying sort of $10 plus, the pool can be quite significant. You might end up with a $3,000-$4,000 quaddie, of which you have 16% of. So they're an exciting way to play a racing bet. You can get with your mates and they can have a few cracks at a few horses in your quaddie and you can kind of get around each other. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jacob does get the chockies there. And I will say, because we're about to head into another tip from Liam, Liam's got one of the last races that Jacob has not included in his quaddie.
Which is interesting. I think that makes it one of those things where you go, do we just add it in just in case?
I think so. So we'll go to that one in a minute. So we'll definitely probably suggest you put it in. Yeah.
I think so. So Liam McLaughlin, he's got in touch through Spotify again, which we really appreciate. It's great that he's listening in and feeling inspired enough to throw in some tips. But he said race 9 Belmont, which is the last race. Go for number 1 Falcon Trader, $7.50. He said favoured a freak winning 4 on the trot, but it gets a good weight pull and should sit behind the pace. That's if we get to race 9, weather depending.
Go well, Liam. That's a very.
I love that.
He's literally called the race for us, hasn't he?
He has. Darren McCauley, you're unrequired this week, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Liam's done it.
Liam's snapping at the heels. Obviously that horse number 1. We're going to put that in the quaddie in the last leg. So just reading those numbers again, it should be 1, 3, 4, 5, 11, and 12.
Love it.
And there's nothing worse than betting on a horse in a race, not having the quaddie and it wins. It's the Moz.
Oh, it is.
So we've all been there, haven't we? Oh, yeah, you're in a quaddie with a bunch of mates and suddenly one of the blokes is cheering when you're out of the quaddie. What's going on there, mate? Oh, I backed it. It's like Yeah, it's a curse. So you have to put it in and it's paying $7.50, mate. That's juicy, isn't it?
It's very juicy, so I like that. Hey, mate, we'll look at the Tab Touch specials. Anything on the go there that we want to have a look at today, or are we just going to incorporate them into the bets?
I've got a couple in my bets, so I'll take you through them, and I think you might have one or two as well.
I do. All right, well, we'll start with me then.
Mate, what do you got?
So I've taken a Tab Touch special. Actually, this is boosted odds. It was $3.25. I've got it at $5, so 20 on. It's Sydney to win, Geelong and Hawthorn to both win by 40 plus at $5.
Yeah, it is a big boost.
Huge.
So obviously Shorty has had a couple of rough weekends like we have on the punt.
Yeah.
And the guys at Tab Touch have boosted that one significantly, trying to let the punters get out on top. So, I'm not surprised you took that. It's a pretty good bet, isn't it? $5.
It's a very good bet. Also, mate, I'm going to take advantage of the 12 points up at any time and money back for Fremantle. So, Fremantle to win, 30 on it at $1.80.
Yep.
I think, especially at the start of the game, Freo could come out of the blocks. And there's a very good chance they're going to be 12 points up at some point in the game.
I think so, mate. Yeah, it's, as you said, it'll be a scrap early, particularly the weather here in Perth as well. Yep. Forecast of a lot of rain over the next 2 days. So I don't think it's going to be a shellacking by any means by either side. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Freo just come out hard, as you said, mate, try and get a few goals on the board early and the home crowd will get behind them and try and give them a bit of momentum. So, yeah, and you got one of those up a couple of weeks ago from both teams, I think, didn't you? West Coast and Freo in the same week. So, good you stuck with it.
Yep, 100%. And my final one, mate, I was looking for a bit of value here.
Yes.
But I thought, you know what, coming to the end of the season, I'm going to put 50 on a multi. So, we've got Freo, Geelong, Gold Coast and Giants all to win. $11, that's playing with 50% boosted odds. So we're looking at a $500 win if that does get up.
Imagine that.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Just goes from, in the red to just in the green big time, topples my tally at the end of the round. How good would that be? He's left his run late. He's done the Bradbury.
That'd be huge. What's Freo paying again?
Oh, geez, I think $1.95.
I'll be tempted if the first three get up to cash out. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's tough. We'll have to go and have a look at that one again. But the 50% boost is pretty juicy, isn't it? And the old
Very
multis.
juicy. That's huge.
You don't see that with any other operators. So obviously it's been a tough weekend and a tough few rounds for AFL punters. And with Tap Touch trying to give back. So $1.84 the Dockers and $2 for Port. So Dockers slightly drifted out a bit and Port slightly come in from about 210 yesterday. So yeah, who knows? I guess it's going to be wet and windy.
It's going to be wet and
Anything
windy.
can happen,
it's going
pal.
to be interesting, man.
Anything could happen.
All right, so finally, let's look at your bets for the week. Mate, it looks like you've been doing a bit of work here. I'm looking at your sheet. There's heaps going on.
Yeah,
what are you
there is.
doing?
I'm hedging like crazy. Look, what I'm trying to do is take advantage of the reduction in 80 disposals down to 75.
Yes, okay.
And I thought we were real close last week. We just got let down by Will Day, who had an unfortunate injury.
Yep.
So McCluggage, Brayshaw and Crouch, 75 posies combined at $2.
Yep.
Maximum bet $20, so it's a double up special. Brayshaw 41 last week. McCluggage, good form.
Always gets
I
25.
think if Brayshaw can get us 35 and we're away. So no pressure, but it'll probably come down to that last game and how good Brayshaw is in that game against Port.
Yep.
Viney, Newcomb and Cripps.
Hello.
Again, Cripps puts them on the shoulders. Again, 75 disposals combined seems pretty reasonable. $2, $20 on that one as well.
Yep, beautiful.
I actually really like Liam's tip.
Oh,
Went back-
hello. Get behind Liam. I like it.
Went back and had a look at the replays. Thought, the weight swing was pretty important here, and there's going to be a lot of early speed. So I think he's right. I'm expecting Falcon Schroeder to swoop late. I've got 10 each way on it, $7.50 and $2.45 for the place.
Love it.
And also got a super pick there from Tab Touch, so finishes second cash back there. So that'll be 100 collect from 20. And then finally, geez, it feels like I've just gone crazy. Am I doing a share update or something? It
You're
feels
only
like.
halfway there as well.
And the last one, I was a bit worried about those 40-plus lines. So I took Geelong 40 or more against West Coast because I think West Coast has been hapless. Geelong by 25 or more against North.
Gotcha.
Might be sloppy down there. Hawks, they need to win, but I don't know. I feel like Alistair Clarkson might have a few tricks up his sleeve to keep it close.
Yep.
Sydney to beat Adelaide. Brisbane by 25 or more against the Dons. I didn't like what I saw from Brisbane last week against Collingwood, so I couldn't have them 40-plus. Hawks by 25 or more against North. Sydney to beat Adelaide. Brisbane by 24 off 25 or more against the Dons. Is at $4.35 with the old Tab Touch 50% boost there. $40 for a 175 collect.
Oh, could be huge.
4 bets on, 350 collect if we all win, back up to about 700 in the kitty.
Mate, I like it. 700 at the end of the season would be sitting pretty nice. I don't think you've ever actually been in the red. Unlike me.
No, I don't think so. Week to week, I have been, obviously. But, mate.
Overall, though.
It's just been an emotional roller coaster, hasn't it, this season in terms of punting? We've been so close yet so far. So,
yeah.
Let's hope we can sort the weed out from the chaff the next few weeks, mate.
Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. I think it all looks good. We're going to have a really good week of it. Mate, I think when we come back and reconvene at this time, we'll be going, all right, let's go to Vegas.
Oh, bloody hope
No,
so.
it's not that much. We're only going to be like $1,200 overall. But, I think we're going to have a good win this weekend. Maybe we'll go to Crown Casino in
Yeah,
Perth and have a good night out.
we could probably just get up to Savannah's or
Yeah.
short weekend away or something.
Celebrate the end of the season, then get started again when finals comes around.
Well, you probably wouldn't want to join me on a boys' weekend after what happened last weekend, mate. So a word of caution there if we do get away.
It sounds tempting, I think.
Exactly.
I'll tell my wife I'll be home in 2 weeks.
Yeah, life insurance, mate.
Mate, that's us done for the week.
Mate, no. It's a big weekend of footy coming up. Cannot wait. And we've also got Group 1 racing at Randwick on Saturday too, the Wink Stakes. So plenty
do.
on.
There's heaps on.
Can't wait, guys. Can't wait to get into it.
Mate, good luck. Happy punting and let's
too,
play
mate.
the song.
Get 'em. Big pause for